They say you are what you eat, so I don't eat chicken feet. But I love me some of Grandma's pickled beets. Well, cut it up, put it in the pan, throw it over your shoulder and see where it lands right here in Farmer's Kitchen. Maters, taters, beans and corn, the cows in the barn and the sheep's been shorn, kids in the barnyard chasing Grandpa's chicken. Chicken. Spices, slices, cuts and dices, gonna slash your grocery prices right here in Farmer's Kitchen. Help you grow your garden good with recipes to suit your mood. Try some grub you've never tried before. Smash it with a wooden mallet, gonna educate your palate. Right here in Farmer's Kitchen, in Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen. We're gonna cook something good now.
Hello and welcome to the Farmer's Kitchen. We're the farmers. This is our kitchen. This is not a set like many cooking shows. If you see a speck of flour, it's a speck of flour.
Tim did it.
Yeah, I did it. It's a working kitchen. You know, we had a fun little trip. We decided that we couldn't sit within our four walls anymore and we need to take a little trip. Now, I grew up in a very rural area in Kentucky. I mean, very, very rural. My mother and father made a choice to take us kids out and grow up in the country. And where we grew up, the house where it sits right now, we could not see another house from there. And my entertainment was to go to the woods and to the water. And so I hunted and I fished. I watched Dad as a kid bring in buckets of bluegill, and he would take them and he would fillet them, and I couldn't believe that something as fun as fishing could produce a meal. Do you remember, you grew up similarly.
On the
Do
lake.
you remember when your dad would bring in the pike and the different fish?
It was dinner.
And the bass?
Yes.
So we grew up in a culture where we brought in food to the table. Once I realized that you could take a deer, a big, 100 and some pound animal, sometimes 200 pounds, and have all that meat, it was just fascinating. And the turkey's wonderful. So that has been a culture that we have both been immersed in our whole lives. When we go fishing, we take a cooler.
Right.
We bring back as much as we can, we freeze it, and we have that for dinner. So when we travel and we take vacations, sometimes it involves bringing back meat that we will have for the show. Now, we might bring something back that is absolutely foreign to your taste, and if that's the case, we will always give you a substitute. We had temperatures here get down in the -4
Right, it's not
range.
good, not good.
Don't like it. So we went south. And when we went south, you got us a place to stay. I started looking around areas, things that we could do, and I found a place where we could gator hunt.
That's right.
Not foreign to us folks, us country folks, that's what we do.
But something we've never done.
Something we had never done. It was on
That's
my
right.
bucket list. So I started calling around and finding some things. I was catching a few fish down there and having fun. So I found a guy named Grayson.
Very nice.
Wonderful outfit. We're cooking gator tonight.
You know, one thing different though.
What?
A gator can eat you. The fish and the deer don't want to eat us. That's the only thing different about that.
You know, I thought, well, wouldn't it be lovely if I got out there and he got a hold of this arm?
That's right. That's why you get a guide, right?
That's why you get a guy.
That's right.
So there's no danger involved here. You get on this huge swamp buggy
15 feet in the air.
and you're looking for gators. Now you're in the swamp. So we're looking out there and we're seeing some wild boar and all kinds of different
So
critters,
fun.
turtles and so on and so forth. So we're looking for a target species that we could bring home, and we finally found one. And this gator was pushing 9 foot. Now you can see in the distance here, that's some water where he was. And he let himself be known by bringing his nose up. So I had to wait until the opportunity arose to make that shot.
Great shot, by the way.
Thank you very much. And then Grayson had to go in, and once they're taken, they kind of sink to the bottom. He had a big treble hook where he could bring it to us, to the land.
Right.
And then the whole process of taking this gator, this wonderful meat. And when you talk about the gator, well, I'm gonna let Grayson tell us what parts of the gator you can eat. And here's Grayson right now with this beautiful gator.
A living dinosaur right here in Florida.
100%.
I have driven past you a million times to go saltwater fish, and this is finally kind of a dream come true. It's off my bucket list. A lot of people might look at that and say, oh my goodness, you can't be killing gators in Florida, they're endangered. Not too long ago, that may have been the case, but I trust your DNR to say we can do this.
Absolutely, yes sir. Yeah, we have 3 different types of programs that you can harvest alligators in the state of Florida. One of them is a nuisance program. That's generally, hey, I've got an alligator in my pool, they need to come get him. They have a public lottery system with a public season, and then we're on private land. They have a private land program as well. But
Gotcha.
they estimate the population in Florida over 1 million,
Wow.
and seems to be continually growing. They have done a great job of what they do, how they do with the alligator, and alligator management program has really done a good job.
Now this guy I stepped him off. He's about 8 foot.
Yes, sir.
And we talked earlier, to the best of our knowledge and other biologists, you say it's about a foot a year?
There's a couple different reports, and a variety of biologists have a variety of different opinions on their age. But generally, what I've read and what I usually quote is, under ideal circumstances, a foot a year till they reach sexual maturity, 6 to 8 years old. Then it's a half a foot a year till they reach their genetic predetermined length. Genetically, they're going to grow just like any other animal. They're only going to grow so long. They don't just grow forever and ever. A lot of people think that, but they don't. So this gator's, at a minimum, I would say 8 years old. He could be 10, 12 years old, something like that.
Now, typically you think about tail meat, and we're going to make a wonderful recipe out of this because gator is good.
Absolutely.
And we talked about this extensively the other day. I think it's best fried. It's just, you can try anything in the world you want, but it's awful good fried, and it's good smoked. We smoked one time,
Yes,
smaller
sir.
one.
Yep. Well, gator, it is a seafood. It's in the seafood family. It actually falls under regulation seafood-wise. And so, there's tail meat. Then there's leg meat, that's your red meat. There's belly meat, that's also your red meat. Then you have a little bit of a back strap, and then you have the jowl meat on both sides, and what we call the collar, which actually goes that way on the alligator. So,
Right.
Yep. Bulk of the meat's in the tail, a lot of other meat that goes with it too.
Well, thank you so much for hosting us and bringing us down here and letting me realize a bucket list I might not drive past you next time I'm going through.
Well, I hope you don't.
Thank you so much, man.
Yes, sir.
So tonight we've got the deep fryer out. We've got a skillet out. So we're gonna try some fun stuff. Now here's one thing. If you see us using oil to fry in, it will be
Olive oil.
every time. Now if you look and find some of the bigger box stores, you can find the large bottles. Sometimes you have to buy 2, if you know what I mean.
Right.
And you can find it very reasonably. But we don't get up to temperatures above 350,
Right.
375 like you hear everybody. We rarely get above 280. Now what happens when you fry at those temperatures?
We can reuse it.
We can reuse it.
That's right.
Now, and also you get the benefits, and when you don't get up to the smoke point and just ruin that oil,
That's right.
you still get the benefits from the olive oil itself. So tonight we're gonna make some treats, some fun stuff, and if you don't like gator, you can use a firm-fleshed fish in this. You could use a bass, you could use bluegill,
But gator's fun.
but gator's fun, and it's delicious. Gator is healthy, no carbs, no cholesterol, and it has omega-3s, vitamins and minerals. It's just all around
So you
good.
need to get a gator every year, you're saying?
Every year, probably every other week.
You're going to need to get a gator. Okay.
We're gonna need a ranch dip later
Yes.
for something we're making that I know you're gonna love. So we're gonna make this ranch dip, and it's so simple. You're gonna need 1.5 cups of sour cream, 3/4 a cup of mayo, about a half a teaspoon of salt and pepper, and we just ground some cherry pepper there. And because the cherry pepper is not hot, but it really brings some flavor, I'm just gonna put a little bit more in there. You see that's a medium ground there. And we're also gonna come back with 3/4 teaspoon of parsley. I'm gonna use about 3/4 teaspoon of dill weed. Anything that you can buy in the store, you can make at home. And trust me, when it's all fresh ingredients, it tastes so much better. Then we're gonna use a half a teaspoon of dried minced onion. That's important. And some garlic powder. We're gonna go maybe 1/4 teaspoon there. We want a dash of onion powder, so another 1/4 teaspoon of that. Then we're gonna take a half a teaspoon of basil, and also we're gonna infuse this with some melted bacon grease.
Yummy.
Yummy. Just a little bit, half a teaspoon. Just a few little chives. Those are to stir in, the rest are gonna be put on the top later. And there is what I call a beautiful, wonderful.
Yummy dip.
So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna put a little plastic on that, we're gonna put it in the
fridge?
refrigerator, let
Okay.
it chill. And then we're gonna come back and start frying some stuff up. But in olive oil, it's guilt-free.
That's right. Yum.
So recently we went to a restaurant, and we've had this before, but we had some fried cauliflower in a beer batter. Now, if you don't like cauliflower, you can actually put chicken in here. You
Oh,
can do
yeah.
the same thing we're doing with chicken. It's a buffalo cauliflower that absolutely is delicious. Now, when you fry, and again, it's olive oil, it changes the consistency of the cauliflower and makes it more like a meat.
Yeah, it does.
So what we're going to do is we're going to take our cauliflower and uniformly cut them into a size that's friendly for a bite. And again, if you don't like cauliflower, you could use chicken. So, can we make our own buffalo sauce? I mean good buffalo sauce that tastes just like the buffalo sauce you get in the market. Well, I bet you we could do it one step better. I started thinking about this and started doing some research. And I thought, okay, where does buffalo sauce come from? Buffalo sauce came from Buffalo, New York. There was a lady that had a bar in Buffalo, New York, and back in the day, chicken wings were junk. I mean, they were really kind of a side deal, and a lot of times they were thrown out. So Teresa Bellissimo at the Anchor Bar in Buffalo, New York, decided, what if she took some of those wings and made a spicy sauce that included butter, it included a hot sauce of your choice, and some Worcestershire, and a few more other things. What if she could take her wings and deep fry them or bake them or whatever, turn this thing that most people are wasting into something that she could serve at her bar? She did it. Well, guess what year it was?
I have no idea.
1964.
Really? The year you were born?
Very good year. So Teresa said, hey, I'm going to take this and turn it into something. She did. Buffalo wings were born.
Really?
So it's cool to know where your food comes from. So used to, I would use 2 sticks of butter. I think you can get by with less butter.
Okay.
And so we're going to use 1 stick of butter. Let's go ahead and melt that. While we're melting our butter, I got to get my phone out here because this was interesting. The other day we put up a poll for our friends. We said, hey, what is a reasonable price per person for dining out? Now, I really wondered what that thought process was because, you know, nobody likes to spend money and, you know, times are a little bit tough right now. So per person, Eric Hawks said 25. Steven says dive $10 to $12 per person, moderate 15 to 25, and classy 35 and up. I think that's a pretty good answer. Fine dining $100, any other 25, no more than 12 to 15, $20 with senior discount. I like that. Connie Cuss says 35 low, $50 high. Kathy Willis says 20 low, 40 high. So this goes on and on. So it really gave me an idea. And I remember we did a segment years ago, and we had a picture of a trip that we'd been on towards the coast, and a lot of comments were, oh, it must be nice to be able to eat lobster.
Right.
And when we're on the coast, we look for discount seafood or someplace that has seafood that is wholesale.
Like a market.
Yes.
Yes.
A seafood market. What they didn't realize is this huge lobster. We got a picture of it right here. We were fishing.
Right.
This monster lobster that was dinner. We didn't eat anything else. It was so big, and that was, I think it was a rock lobster.
Right.
$35
For that whole lobster.
for both of us. So what's that? 17.
Yeah, we share that, and that was a lot of meat.
So for about 15, 16, $17 a piece, we're eating a huge lobster. So if you look and you find out where you can find this, we went today just on a search to see what we could find. And look what we found.
The tails.
2 tails. Now that in itself, those 2 tails, we could have a salad and be in pretty good shape. Those lobster tails we got in a local store, local chain, for about $13.
For both of them.
For both of them.
That's right.
So we looked when we were down there and we found Maine lobsters.
Yeah.
Maine lobsters have claws.
Lots of meat in those, too.
They're the guys with the claws. Now, when we're down south in the Keys during lobster season, you can go and take the rock lobsters. The rock lobsters do not have the big front claws like the Maine lobsters.
Which is good, because they tried to get me with the claws.
They would. The tail of the Maine lobster, there's not half the meat that you would find in rock lobster.
But there's the claw.
The claws are good and the
They're
claws are
delicious,
sweet.
yes.
But my favorite is the rock lobster. We ate for $15 a piece. And it was enough lobster that we had gotten our fill.
Right, we're sick
We
of
didn't even
lobster.
want any more lobster.
That's pretty bad.
So many times the stigma involved with a lobster is if you go to a fancy restaurant and you get a steak
Right.
and say, oh, your lobster, get a lobster added, market price.
It's
And
expensive.
then your lobster comes in and it's $75
right, it's this
for a
big.
tail.
Yeah.
So just remember, when you're out and about, look around. If you're on the coast, look for a seafood
Right.
place. Look for a wholesale place. Sometimes they'll let you in. That place let us in.
Right, that was
They don't
nice.
typically sell to the general public, but we knocked on doors.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, we're eating like kings for nothing. Now, how do you fix the lobster? Well, I'll tell you what we did. We took our lobsters, some crab boil, lemon, celery, and the celery leaves are good, some onion. You take this, put it in a pot, get that water boiling, and let that lobster go for about 12, 13 minutes on this, and that'll cook all the way through, and that will be lovely. I'm gonna turn it down just a hair, and that's gonna taste fantastic. So we got gator and lobster and cauliflower, all kinds of wonderful things tonight. But first, let's finish our homemade buffalo sauce. So we're gonna have about 3/4 a cup of your favorite kind of hot sauce. So now we're gonna take some white vinegar. You need to have just that little bit, and I'm gonna put a tablespoon and a half. So we're gonna take a little salt,
Stir for you.
a little pepper, a little celery seed, and some Worcestershire. Now I'm gonna take let's put a tablespoon in there, see where that gets us. Now if you wanna thicken it up, you can put a little cornstarch slurry in there. But I think this is gonna be just about
good.
perfect. So there is just how simple it is to make buffalo sauce. The next thing we're gonna do is make a gator fritter.
Yummy.
We're gonna put, I don't know, 1/4 inch of oil in there. For our fritters, we're gonna take 2 cups of flour. On this show, unless we say different, it's always all purpose. And any kind of seasoned salt that you like. I'm just gonna put my dry rub mix in there because it has a little bit of cayenne, has a little bit of sugar, and it has some salt in it. We're gonna take a 1/2 cup of cornmeal and 1 tablespoon of baking powder. Mix that up real good. And we're gonna put about 1 cup of beer, or you can put clam juice if you have some of that. You're gonna mix this up till it gets right. Then we're gonna cut up 1/2 cup of red pepper, 1/2 cup of green pepper, about 3/4 cup of onion. We're gonna take 1 tablespoon of garlic and we're gonna press that. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our onions and garlic and peppers and put those
You want it
all
all in there?
the batter.
Everything?
Yes, and we're gonna put our jalapeno peppers in there. 2 tablespoons of jalapeno. I'm gonna use pickled jalapeno on that. We're gonna put in 1 egg, then 1/4 cup of our corn relish. That gives it a nice little zing. You can use regular corn if you want to put in there. And then we're gonna have about 1.5 cups to 2 cups of alligator. Again, you could do this with fish or anything you wanted to put in there. So now this gator meat, what you're seeing right here, this is the tail. It's the whitest, firmest part. The leg meat is darker. I like it just as much, but it's more of a darker meat. There's also jowl meat, there's back meat. So now we're gonna add our gator to our fritter mix. And if you've watched our show for a while over the years, you've seen us make fritters. And it's probably gonna be very similar to some bluegill fritters we made a while back. But if you wanna make a meal, you think if you made fish, you'd make hush puppies to go along with it. What happens when you take your hush puppies and turn them into fritters with the meat already there?
Yum.
All right, so I'm gonna take my little ice cream dipper and I'm gonna get some oil in it. And we're gonna take a scoop of all our wonderful flavors here. And we're gonna take this, pop it out. The smell of these fritters when they cook, it is just so appealing and appetizing. I can't even explain to you how good they are. Now you notice I don't have my oil going crazy here. I'm gonna slowly turn it up, get it up to speed. Gator fritter, are you kidding me? All right, one more sauce we need to make, Nikki, when I think about it. What do you need with your gator bits? Remoulade. Remoulade. And we're gonna do that. We're gonna make a simple one here. All we're gonna do is take about 1 cup of mayonnaise, a couple tablespoons of mustard. We're gonna put some horseradish, about 1 teaspoon of that, and a little bit of hot sauce, some sweet pickle juice. We got some of those. I'm gonna put some dry rub in there. It's got paprika and wonderful things like that. And we're good to go. All right, the batter for the cauliflower is 1/2 cup cornstarch, 1/2 cup of flour. Remember, if we don't say anything otherwise, it's all purpose, and it is all purpose. 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, some salt. And what we're gonna do is put about 1 cup of beer in here till you get that consistency just right. If you wanted to, you could use water, but I like that flavor. Our temperature is now about 280. I'm not gonna fry this to death. I want this to have a little crunch. You do not, I repeat, have to have things at 350. You know, a lot of the on-the-counter stuff is preset at 350, so you're destined to burn stuff. So that's why I like something, and I really watch my control there. I watch my temperature gauge because It's not right on.
Not
It could be
correct,
10,
yeah.
15 degrees difference. Now, these went about 8.5 minutes, 9 minutes. Now look, with that cornstarch and the flour, they're very crispy. So I'm gonna come back in here with some of my buffalo sauce. And I'm gonna take and toss. Very, very crispy. You need that because they're gonna be soaked in the buffalo sauce. So your buffalo sauces, you're just gonna evenly turn these. Oh, now you would probably want some blue cheese on there, wouldn't you?
I would.
I'm not a big blue cheese fan. So here's what our little snack is gonna look like. Everything here is fresh and homemade. Kelly just mentioned these look like wings. Well, they do. But the crunch on this is the most valuable part. And that's where the cornstarch came in handy. And you'll find as you make some dishes, a lot of stuff that you want to fry and get a really nice crunchy coating, including fish. Cornstarch comes in mighty handy. Look what we've got.
Very nice.
We actually did stuff tonight that we weren't going to do on the show because I thought, ooh, we need some remoulade. We need some buffalo sauce. We got some fresh ranch. I'll tell you what, let's do. Let's start with a cauliflower and then put some fresh ranch on that.
Wow. Even if you don't like cauliflower, I can't even describe the taste. It's so good. This is really good.
It's a meat substitute.
Yeah.
It really, when you leave it in there for that amount, it's a little warm, isn't it?
I'm double dipping because it's just me and you.
Go ahead and try your
Oh, wow.
Gator fritter. That's a meal
Wow.
in itself, and I'm not
Oh,
kidding
wow.
you. That's just beautiful.
That is delicious.
Oh, wow.
We need some more Gator. We're going to have to get more Gator.
That is absolutely delicious.
It is really good.
Gator fritter.
And I like the peppers, and the peppers are sweet in it. That is so good.
Thanks for helping us out with our poll. I'd really like to see what people would like to spend on a meal, so on and so
Right.
forth. We showed the myth of the expensive lobster.
How
If
cute.
you look, you can make dinner out of that. You could put that on a salad.
I know.
You could put it in pasta and have you something special. This was, I think it was $13
For both.
For both of us.
I'm going to dip it in butter and have a bite, make sure it's good.
And think about a pasta dish you could do with that. And I'm telling you what, look at that. That's beautiful. If you want a little extra hot sauce, and then dip it over here. I'll dip on this side, you dip on the other.
Now this is a feast for a king right here. I love it.
That's a crunch. It still has a
delicious.
crunch. Oh, my. I still got stuff cooking here. We're just gonna keep on eating. Kelly hadn't even started yet. That being said, Ms. Farmer, if somebody would come to you and say, I really would like to know, how do you get to these gazillions of recipes that you have? Where would you tell them to go?
I tell them timfarmerscountrykitchen.com.
We have how-tos, how to build things, how to do things. So visit timfarmerscountrykitchen.com for recipes, how-tos. If you wanted to be a member of our Facebook page, it's so difficult. There's so
It
many
is.
steps. What do you have to do?
You hit like.
That's it?
That's it.
Maybe I'll go on over there and talk to people.
You should.
Look at what we got, folks.
I'm excited.
We spend a lot of time in the kitchen here. This is you got a lot of bangs for your buck. You got 1, 2, 3, 4,
Wow.
5, 6 recipes tonight. And if we'd had time, we'd have put one more in there.
That's right. Delish.
Thanks so much for visiting with us tonight. We'll see you next week at the brand new show. It's all about
Good times
good friends.
and really good eats.
Whoopee! We have been catering for a lot of years, and I wanted everything to have a specific taste. Therefore, I had to come up with my own products.
Right.
My dry rub, chow chow, and our barbecue sauce are something that we use in all our catering gigs. I developed this barbecue sauce that is not the really thick, syrupy stuff that you get. This has more of a natural, it's got some pepper and onion flavor in it. You can actually see the particulates in there. You know, a lot of people are asking what we use our dry rub on. Now, obviously, pork and chicken are two of the more common things. Also, we've been using on our corn on the cob with butter.
That is.
I'm telling you, this
That's
stuff
wonderful.
with potatoes is fantastic. So 40 years in the making, Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen Dry Rub.